The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Many of the omnipresent defenders of the non-existent problems of the people talk about all the junk fees you've eliminated. So would you tell us what a junk fee is?
Well, junk fees are ones that are typically not subject to the competitive process. You have to click through the screen, you find them at the end. Sometimes they're for a service that doesn't even really exist. Sometimes they're just completely hidden and random. So there's lots of different ones. We've really tried to focus.
Okay, can you give me a couple examples of those?
So for example, I mentioned to one of your colleagues, we identified in one of our examinations and similar other places, a paper statement fee that was charged on a recurring basis where the financial institution did not even print out a piece of paper, nor did they mail it. So there's a bunch of things that we see.
That just sounds like a fraud. Is there a statutory definition? If you put in the statute somewhere, a definition of a junk fee, so we know exactly what we're talking about?
No, but we've tried to really articulate through the various laws that we enforce where certain fees may not be permitted under existing law. So for example—
Don't you think you should articulate those more clearly, or put them in writing so everyone knows what
we are
a junk fee
trying
is?
to. We're trying to take the feedback of where we should be issuing guidance on this. Overall, I would say the market has really moved in many ways and are being more clear about how fees are being assessed. That's very, very good progress. But inasmuch that there's particular places you think we need to issue more guidance, we're very, very open to it. We have published some information where we give examples of what we have uncovered in enforcement and exams that in some ways have been pretty egregious violations.
How do you assess the impact of your regulations on the cost of access to credit?
Big picture, or as it relates to fees, or?
Big picture.
Big picture. So I think, as I mentioned to your colleague, we try and really look and have fidelity to the competitive market. We really want people to be able to compete and compete for business, and that it's clear what the product they're getting and the price they're getting. So often when we can make the cost—
Does that involve assessing the cumulative impact on the entire system of regulations?
Yeah, so one of the places of feedback that, you know, in all my meetings with industry and that you all have given, we all need to be thinking about all of the issues together. The CFPB is not the only one.
Would you describe your process for considering the cumulative impact of your regulations on the access to credit?
So we have a requirement under the statute, I believe it's the Regulatory Flexibility Act. We have to conduct an analysis about the impact of regulations, and of course we have to look at that in the context of other ones that are current or being implemented. So we, in our proposed rules, we tend to outline that, and we include some data and estimates. We get comment on it and try and be able to refine based on that input.
How do you use your cost-benefit analysis? Do you do cost-benefit analysis if any of your regulations have risen to that level?
Sorry, I couldn't hear a little bit. Do we do it?
I said, have you done any cost-benefit analyses? Have any of your regulations risen to that level?
Risen to that level. So as I mentioned—
the standard, the government says you can write a ridiculous rule, but if it doesn't harm people to the tune of over $100 million.
Right, so the path we follow is really what's spelled out in the statute. So as I mentioned, in the proposed rule, we have to spell out what the costs, we articulate what the benefits are, and we follow exactly what is in the statute. And we even collect comment on the analysis as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.